Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Minimalist Gourmet, where today I'll be teaching you how to make beef burgundy. That's right, this French classic, popularized by Julia Childs, is very easy to make, so let's get started. We're going to be cutting one package of bacon, that's about 12 ounces. You can also do 12 ounces of pork belly if you'd like, cut into lardons. In a large pot over medium-low heat, put your pork on to start cooking as we prep up our beef. Today I'll be using 1 3/4 pound of rump steak, but you could also use chuck, brisket, or round. The more connective tissue actually, the better for this dish. I like to trim off any excess fat that I have, as well as any silver skin. But before I do, I want to take note of how the muscle fibers run. As you can see here, the muscle fibers run from top to bottom like little strings. This is important because, as you can see here, they run this direction, so when we cut it, we want to cut perpendicular to the muscle fibers. But first, one thing that really isn't optional is getting rid of the silver skin. This bright and shiny membrane will not break down or get soft no matter how long this dish cooks, so it absolutely must go. Take a look and try to get rid of all of this, as it really isn't appetizing in the final product. With our beef trimmed up, we can see the muscle fibers run this direction, so we cut perpendicular to the muscle fibers. This is very critical to create that fork tender and melt in your mouth texture that you're looking for. Try to go for 1 inch cubed pieces. It's very important that you keep them all about the same size so they cook evenly and are all finished at the same time. You know my motto, pick a size and stick to it. Season your cut beef generously with salt as well as ground black pepper before massaging it in and making sure that everything is evenly coated. With our beef all prepped up, our bacon should be done. We're going to pull this off and put it onto a paper towel lined plate, but do not drain any of that bacon grease because in the next step, we're going to actually be browning our beef pieces in that same bacon grease. Over medium-high heat, place your cut beef pieces into the bacon fat so they can start beginning to brown. Don't overcrowd the pan though, because you don't want them to steam. Fry the beef until it reaches a very nice, rich brown color, making sure to rotate all the pieces so that they completely brown on all sides. You are not looking to cook the beef at this point, you're only trying to sear it on all sides because that brings a tremendous amount of flavor to the party. So once the beef is seared on all sides, we're going to go ahead and pull that off and put it onto a plate that is not lined with paper towels so it can sit aside until we're ready to move on. I had to sear the beef off in 2 batches, and chances are you will as well. Don't worry, this is much preferred versus overcrowding your pan, so take your time here and do more than 1 batch if necessary. Remove all but about 1 to 2 tablespoons of the rendered fat for the next step, and do your best to try not wiping out that beautiful fond that you've created in your pan. Add 1 medium chopped onion to the pan and allow it to cook over medium-high heat for about 3 to 4 minutes until it takes on a nice light brown color. To this, add 4 minced cloves of garlic and allow it to cook for an additional 1 to 2 minutes. Add 1 cup of tomato puree. You can also substitute in diced tomatoes or 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Cook this over medium heat for about 2 minutes before adding 1 cup of red wine. Turn the heat to high and mix well. You want to cook this mixture on the high heat for about 5 minutes in order to reduce slightly. After that, we are going to add back in our brown beef as well as any accumulated juices on the plate. This is why I said make sure not to add any paper towels to this plate, as you want all those meat juices to go back into the dish. Next, add 5 cups of cool drinking water or 5 cups of beef stock before adding the cooked bacon back into the dish. Add 2 envelopes of beef bullion powder. If you used beef stock instead of water, skip this step. Add a nice generous pinch of dried herbs, including dried rosemary, thyme, oregano. They're all very nice. Using as low a heat as possible, bring this just to a simmer. You're looking for something like this, where it's just slightly simmering around the edges, nothing more aggressive. Top with a lid or a sheet pan as I am here, and cook on the lowest heat that you can for 2 hours. If you have an oven-safe pot, you can absolutely do this in the oven. What can you do while this is cooking? I'm not sure. However, you do have the rest of that bottle of wine there. I'm just saying. After 2 hours of cooking, it's time to add our vegetables. I will be adding in 4 diced medium potatoes as well as 3 diced medium carrots. Add them to the dish and make sure to give everything a very thorough stir so that it's all completely integrated and it'll cook evenly. We're going to add back on the cover and cook for an additional 60 to 90 minutes on the same low heat setting. And after 90 minutes of cooking, we are almost done. The last thing that we need to do is thicken this. I made a slurry from 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and 3 tablespoons of water that I'll add to the beef burgundy, mix it really well, and allow it to come up to a simmer to thicken. Check the thickness here, and it's still a little thin for my liking, so I'm going to add a little bit more slurry, allow it to come back up to a simmer, and check the thickness. You can make this as thick or as thin as you desire. And let's check the doneness of this beef. That's right, fork tender and melt in your mouth. All there is left to do now is serve this up. As far as serving, I honestly don't think that this needs anything but a bowl and a spoon to be enjoyed. I hope Julia would approve my recipe as it makes this dish a lot more accessible for the home cook to enjoy. But it's just that easy, guys, to enjoy this delicious dish at home tonight. Thank you so much for watching and tune back in next week for another episode of Minimalist Gourmet.